The German shepherd's matted fur glistened with sweat as it darted between warehouses, a purple backpack clenched firmly in its jaws. 12-year-old Lily Parker sprinted after it, her blonde ponytail bouncing with each desperate stride. "Please stop, I need that," she called, lungs burning as the afternoon heat pressed down like a weight. The dog disappeared around a corner. When Lily followed, she froze. The warehouse door gaped open like a wound. Inside, the dog stood sentinel over a man's crumpled form. Blood pooled beneath his expensive suit, spreading across concrete in a crimson stain. The backpack dropped from the dog's mouth. Its intelligent eyes met hers, not threatening but pleading. The man's fingers twitched. He was alive, barely. The dog hadn't stolen her backpack to torment her. It had brought her here to save a life. Leave a like and share your thoughts in the comments along with the city you're watching from now. Let's continue with the story. Oak Ridge. California had always been a city of stark contrasts. Pristine neighborhoods with manicured lawns bordered industrial districts where abandoned warehouses stood like tombstones of a bygone era. It was in this liminal space between prosperity and decay that Lily Parker's path crossed with the stray German shepherd. At 12 years old, Lily possessed the kind of resilience that comes only from early hardship. 3 years had passed since cancer claimed her mother, leaving behind a hollow space in the Parker household that neither Lily nor her father knew how to fill. Detective James Parker buried himself in his police work, while Lily retreated into a world where animals made more sense than people. Her bedroom walls displayed drawings of creatures she'd rescued: birds with broken wings, abandoned kittens, and once, a turtle with a cracked shell. Her teachers called it a gift, this ability to connect with wounded beings. Lily simply called it listening. The German shepherd that stole her backpack was unlike any animal she'd encountered before. Despite its emaciated frame and matted fur, it moved with purpose and intelligence. Later, Lily would learn to recognize the scars that told Shadow's story: cigarette burns along his flank, a notch missing from his left ear, and the faded tattoo inside his ear marking him as former law enforcement. But in that first moment of pursuit, all she saw was a thief with her science project clutched between powerful jaws. Marcus Blackwood had not earned his fortune by being predictable. At 45, the real estate developer had transformed Oak Ridge's skyline with gleaming towers that bore his name. But few knew of his secret passion, a network of animal rescue operations funded anonymously through his vast resources. His wealth had brought him admiration, envy, and as he would discover that fateful afternoon, enemies willing to spill blood. Detective James Parker worked homicide with the single-minded focus of a man running from ghosts. Colleagues respected his dedication, but whispered about the toll it took on his daughter. The framed photo on his desk showed a smiling family of 3, a relic from a happier time that seemed to belong to someone else's life. In the veterinary clinic across town, Dr. Emma Sullivan had treated her share of abused animals, but nothing prepared her for the extraordinary case that would soon arrive at her door or the conspiracy it would uncover. The final bell of summer school rang, releasing Lily into the sweltering afternoon heat. Unlike her classmates who raced toward freedom, she lingered, reorganizing the contents of her purple backpack. Inside lay her science project, a meticulously constructed ecosystem diorama that had earned her an A and rare praise from Ms. Winters. 3 nights of work had gone into its creation, a welcome distraction from the silent dinners with her father. See you tomorrow, Lily, called Miss Winters as Lily finally zipped her backpack closed. Bye, Lily replied, slinging the pack over her shoulder. The walk home took 23 minutes, she'd counted through the residential neighborhood, past the convenience store where she sometimes bought popsicles, and finally along the edge of the industrial district where her father had explicitly told her not to wander. The cicadas hummed their summer symphony as Lily trudged along the sidewalk, occasionally kicking at loose pebbles. She was contemplating whether to make herself a sandwich or just eat cereal for lunch, when a flash of movement caught her eye. A large dog emerged from between two parked cars, regarding her with an intensity that made her stop in her tracks. "Hey there," Lily said softly. The way she always did with strays, she crouched down, making herself smaller. "Are you lost?" The German Shepherd didn't approach but watched her with amber eyes that seemed to calculate something beyond her understanding. Its ribs pressed against dirty fur, telling a story of hunger and neglect. Despite its condition, Lily recognized the dignified posture that suggested this was no ordinary stray. "I've got some crackers," she offered, slowly reaching toward her backpack. The movement triggered something in the dog. With startling speed, it lunged forward, not toward her hand, but toward her backpack. Sharp teeth clamped around the purple strap, and with one powerful jerk, the bag was torn from her grasp. "Hey, stop!" Lily shouted, her surprise quickly turning to dismay as the dog bounded away, her precious cargo dangling from its jaws. Without hesitation, she gave chase, her sneakers slapping against the hot pavement. The dog was fast, but seemed deliberately unhurried, glancing back occasionally as if ensuring she still followed. It led her deeper into the industrial zone, past chain-link fences and loading docks where workers paused to watch the unusual pursuit. Sweat trickled down Lily's back, but determination kept her legs pumping. "Please, my project is in there," she called, knowing the animal couldn't understand but unable to stop herself. When the dog disappeared around the corner of an abandoned textile warehouse, Lily followed, only to discover the rusted side door standing ajar. Hesitating at the threshold, she peered into the dimness beyond. Her father's warnings about entering abandoned buildings flashed through her mind, but the thought of losing her project propelled her forward. "Hello," she called, her voice echoing through the cavernous space. The scene that greeted her stopped her breath. In a shaft of dusty sunlight that streamed through a broken skylight lay a man in an expensive suit, blood blossoming across his chest. The German Shepherd stood over him, backpack now dropped at its feet, eyes fixed on Lily with what could only be described as urgency. The man's eyelids fluttered. His chest rose and fell with shallow breaths. Next to him lay a sleek black phone, just beyond his outstretched fingers. "Oh my God," Lily whispered, frozen in place until the dog nudged the backpack toward her with its nose. Understanding crashed over her like a wave. The dog hadn't stolen her backpack out of hunger or mischief. It had needed to bring her here, to help. With trembling hands, Lily rushed forward, pulling her own phone from her pocket as she knelt beside the wounded man. Blood soaked into the knees of her jeans as she dialed 911. "Emergency services. What's your location?" came a calm voice. "There's a man. He's been shot. I think at the old textile factory on Westridge." Lily's voice shook. "Please hurry." As she waited for help to arrive, Lily pressed her hands against the wound as she'd seen in movies, trying to slow the bleeding. The man's eyes opened briefly, unfocused and glazed with pain. "Help is coming," she told him. "Just stay with me." The German shepherd remained vigilant, ears perked toward the door, occasionally returning to sniff at the man's face or hands. Despite its ragged appearance, there was something unmistakably noble in its bearing. "Did you see what happened?" Lily asked the dog, seeking comfort in conversation. "You're a good dog for getting help." If she had been able to see the events of that morning through the dog's eyes, she would have witnessed a very different scene. Shadow, though Lily didn't yet know his name, had been scavenging behind a dumpster when the sleek black car pulled into the warehouse lot. His keen senses detected the tension in the air as two men emerged, one in an expensive suit, the other in nondescript dark clothing. The conversation quickly escalated to shouting. When the glint of metal appeared in the second man's hand, instincts from Shadow's former life kicked in. The gunshot echoed through the empty warehouse, followed by the thud of a body hitting concrete. The shooter hadn't noticed the stray dog watching from the shadows, hadn't seen it slip inside after he fled. Shadow had approached the fallen man cautiously, recognizing the scent of blood and the shallow breathing of someone clinging to life. Years of training told Shadow that the man needed help, but years on the streets had taught him to fear humans. Still, something deeper than fear drove him that day, perhaps the echo of the oath he had once served under. Find help. Save the human. And so he had searched until he found Lily young enough to follow without question, innocent enough to trust. The backpack had been necessary bait, the only way to ensure she would follow. Now, as sirens wailed in the distance, Shadow watched the girl tending to the wounded man. For the first time in years, he had fulfilled his purpose. He had chosen correctly. The wail of sirens grew louder as Lily maintained pressure on the wounded man's chest. The German shepherd's ears perked up at the sound, its posture suddenly alert. Before Lily could react, the dog backed away from the scene, retreating into the shadows of the warehouse. "Wait!" she called after it. But the dog had already disappeared among the rusted machinery and fallen beams. Emergency vehicles screeched to a halt outside, and within seconds, paramedics rushed through the warehouse door. Equipment in hand, they gently moved Lily aside, their practiced hands taking over. "Good job, sweetheart," a female paramedic told her. "You might have saved his life." Moments later, more sirens announced the arrival of police cruisers. Lily sat on an overturned crate, her hands sticky with drying blood, watching as officers secured the scene. She was answering a uniformed officer's questions when a familiar figure strode through the warehouse door. Detective James Parker stopped dead in his tracks when he spotted his daughter. His face, normally composed, transformed through a series of emotions: surprise, confusion, fear, and finally, anger. "Lily," his voice echoed through the cavernous space. "What the hell are you doing here?" Before she could answer, he crossed to her in long strides, crouching down to examine her blood-stained hands and clothes. "Are you hurt? What happened?" "I'm okay, Dad. It's not my blood." Lily's voice trembled slightly. "There was this dog." "Detective Parker," interrupted another officer. "We've got Marcus Blackwood here. Gunshot wound to the chest. He's critical but stable for transport." Her father's expression hardened as he glanced toward the paramedics loading the victim onto a stretcher. "Blackwood. The developer. Yes, sir. Detective Parker turned back to his daughter. We'll talk about this later. Officer Wilson will take you home. You need to get cleaned up. But Dad, the dog, not now, Lily. His tone left no room for argument. I need to process this scene. The ride home in the patrol car was silent and uncomfortable. Officer Wilson, a young cop who occasionally came over for dinner, tried to make small talk, but Lily's responses were minimal. Her mind was fixed on the German shepherd, its intelligent eyes. The deliberate way it had led her to the warehouse. This was no ordinary stray. At home. Lily showered and changed, scrubbing the blood from beneath her fingernails. She kept replaying the scene in her mind, trying to make sense of it all. Why had the dog chosen her? How had it known the man needed help? When her father finally returned home hours later, his face was etched with exhaustion. He found Lily at the kitchen table, picking at a microwaved dinner. You should be in bed, he said, dropping his keys on the counter. I wanted to talk to you. Lily pushed her plate away. About what happened? Detective Parker sighed, pouring himself a glass of water. You first. How did you end up at that warehouse? Lily recounted the afternoon's events, the dog stealing her backpack, the chase through the industrial district, the discovery of the wounded man. As she spoke, her father's expression grew increasingly skeptical. So, you're saying this stray dog deliberately led you to Blackwood? He asked when she finished. Yes. It was like it knew exactly what it was doing. Lily leaned forward earnestly. Dad, this wasn't a normal dog. It was trained or something. Detective Parker rubbed his temples. Lily, dogs don't think like that. It probably just took your bag because it smelled food, and you happened to follow it to where Blackwood was shot. No, it was more than that, Lily insisted. The way it looked at me, it was asking for help. Honey, you've always had an overactive imagination when it comes to animals. His voice softened. I know you mean well, but you put yourself in danger today. That shooter could have still been in the area. Lily's shoulders slumped. It was the same dismissive tone he'd used since her mother died, gentle but distant, as if her thoughts were childish fantasies to be humored rather than considered. What happened to the man, Mr. Blackwood? She asked instead. He's in surgery. That's all I can tell you. Her father opened the refrigerator, scanning its meager contents. This is an active investigation. Lily, will you look for the dog? Detective Parker closed the refrigerator door with more force than necessary. The dog is not my concern right now. Finding whoever shot Marcus Blackwood is... Later that night, unable to sleep, Lily sat at her window overlooking the backyard. The full moon cast silvery light across the lawn, illuminating the old oak tree and the weathered fence beyond. Movement near the edge of the property caught her eye, a large shadow slipping between the neighbor's hedge. The German shepherd. It stood at the border of their yard, amber eyes reflecting moonlight as it stared up at her window. Lily's heart raced. The dog hadn't left. It had followed her home. Across town at Oak Ridge Memorial Hospital, Marcus Blackwood was emerging from anesthesia. Detective Parker stood at his bedside, waiting as the businessman's eyes flickered open. Mr. Blackwood, he said quietly. I'm Detective James Parker. Do you remember what happened to you? Blackwood's voice was hoarse. Ambushed, Warehouse meeting. Can you identify who shot you? The injured man's face contorted with effort. Didn't see. Face. But the dog. Dog. Parker's attention sharpened, remembering Lily's story. German Shepherd. Attacked me. Blackwood's breathing grew labored. After I was shot, tried to finish me off. Parker felt a cold sensation spread through his chest. A German Shepherd attacked you after you were shot. Blackwood nodded weakly before slipping back into unconsciousness. Outside the hospital room, Parker pulled out his phone and called home. When Lily answered, his voice was tense. Lock all the doors and windows. Don't open them for anyone but me. Understand? Dad, what's wrong? Just do as I say. Lily, I'm coming home. As he drove through the nighttime streets of Oak Ridge, Parker's mind raced. The German Shepherd his daughter had followed hadn't been trying to help Blackwood. It had been part of the attack. And now, it had tracked Lily to their home. What Parker couldn't know was the truth about the dog now watching his house. 7 years earlier, the German Shepherd had been one of the most decorated K-9 officers in the state, codenamed Shadow for his stealth tracking abilities. The dog had been responsible for dozens of successful operations. 5 years ago, Shadow had disappeared during a raid gone wrong. His handler was found dead, and the dog was presumed killed as well. Instead, Shadow had entered a dark chapter of his life, one filled with abuse and exploitation at the hands of those who recognized his exceptional training and sought to use it for criminal purposes. The scars on his body told only part of that story. The deeper wounds were invisible, carried in the mind of an animal too intelligent for its own good, too loyal to forget its true purpose. A purpose that had awakened again when Shadow witnessed Marcus Blackwood being shot not by Shadow, but by another German Shepherd trained to kill. Dawn broke over Oak Ridge with a hazy orange glow, the summer heat already building as Lily Parker sat bleary-eyed at the kitchen table. She hadn't slept much after her father's alarming phone call and subsequent return home, during which he'd checked every lock and drawn every curtain without full explanation. Now he stood at the stove, making pancakes neither of them really wanted, the silence between them thick with unasked questions. "Dad," Lily finally ventured, "what happened at the hospital last night?" Detective Parker flipped a pancake with more force than necessary. Marcus Blackwood regained consciousness briefly. He said he was attacked by a German Shepherd after he was shot. Lily's fork clattered against her plate. "That's impossible. The dog I saw was protecting him." "Lily." Her father's voice took on the patient tone she'd grown to resent. "You arrived after the attack. You didn't see what happened before." "But the dog brought me there to help," she protested. "Why would it do that if it wanted to hurt him?" Detective Parker placed a stack of pancakes in front of her. "Animals, especially strays, are unpredictable. This one could be dangerous. I want you to promise me you'll stay away from it if you see it again." "You think it followed me home?" Lily said. Not a question, but a realization. Her father's hesitation confirmed her suspicion. "Just as a precaution, I want you to come to the station with me today. Mrs. Abernathy next door can't watch you, and I don't want you home alone." "I'm 12, Dad. I don't need a babysitter," Lily said, but the argument was perfunctory. Her mind was already racing ahead to what coming to the station might mean: access to information about the case, and maybe even about the dog, at the Oak Ridge Police Department. Lily was set up in a small conference room with her summer reading books and strict instructions not to wander. Her father disappeared into the investigation room with other detectives, leaving her to the supervision of the department secretary, Mrs. Garcia, who checked on her occasionally with offers of snacks and soda. During one such momentary solitude, Lily slipped out and made her way to the bulletin board in the hallway. Cases weren't displayed there, her father had explained. Those were kept private, but community notices and departmental news were posted for all to see. Among them, a faded flyer caught her eye. K-9 officer missing, German Shepherd, answers to Shadow, presumed deceased. The photo showed a proud, healthy German Shepherd with alert ears and intelligent eyes Lily recognized instantly. Before she could read more, Mrs. Garcia rounded the corner. "There you are. Your father would have my job if he knew you were wandering around." The woman gently guided Lily back to the conference room. "Mrs. Garcia, do police dogs ever go missing?" Lily asked innocently. The secretary's expression softened. "It's rare, but it happens. Usually when something happens to their handler." "Why do you ask?" "Just curious," Lily replied, tucking away the information like a precious stone. Across town, Marcus Blackwood lay in his private hospital room, the steady beep of monitors the only sound disturbing the stillness. His company's security team had been posted outside his door since his admission, but they hadn't stopped Victor Reynolds from entering. As Blackwood's business partner and closest confidant, Reynolds had unrestricted access. "The doctors say you're lucky," Reynolds said, settling into the chair beside the bed. "An inch to the left and we'd be planning your funeral." Blackwood's pale face tightened with pain as he shifted. "Luck had nothing to do with it. Someone wanted me dead. Victor. The police are investigating. Detective Parker seems competent enough." "Parker?" Blackwood's eyes narrowed. "His daughter was there. After I was shot. She found me." Reynolds leaned forward, suddenly alert. "A coincidence? I don't believe in coincidences, especially not when a trained attack dog was involved." Blackwood pressed the morphine button, waiting for the pain to subside before continuing. "The German Shepherd. Find out everything you can about it. And about the Parker girl. You think they're connected to what happened?" "I think," Blackwood said slowly, "that someone knew about the Harborside project. Someone who wants it stopped." Reynolds nodded, standing to leave. "Rest, Marcus. I'll handle everything." What neither man knew was that Detective Parker was already piecing together connections of his own. In the investigation room, crime scene photos covered a whiteboard the warehouse, blood spatter patterns, bullet casings, and partial paw prints in the dust. "The prints are consistent with a large breed dog, likely a German Shepherd," the forensic technician was explaining. "But there's something odd. There are two distinct sets, similar size and breed, but different wear patterns on the pads." Parker stared at the photos. "Two dogs. Possibly one set leads to where Blackwood was found, the other leads away from the scene toward the exit." A memory surfaced Lily, insisting the dog had been trying to help. If there were two German Shepherds at the scene, the detective's thoughts were interrupted by his phone. The hospital. Marcus Blackwood was requesting to speak with him urgently. When Parker arrived at the hospital, he found Blackwood more alert but no less guarded. The businessman dismissed his security with a gesture before addressing the detective. "Your daughter Blackwood began without preamble. She was the one who found me. Yes, Parker confirmed cautiously. She says a stray dog led her to you. A German shepherd, Blackwood stated flatly. The same one that attacked me. Parker studied the man's face. Mr. Blackwood, our evidence suggests there may have been 2 dogs at the scene. Can you remember any distinguishing features of the one that attacked you? Blackwood's confidence faltered momentarily. It happened quickly. I was already shot. In shock. He paused. The dog had a collar, a dark one, and it came in with the shooter. The shooter brought a dog. They arrived together. The man shot me, and as he was leaving, the dog lunged at me. Blackwood's hand drifted to his bandaged shoulder. It bit me here before running off. Parker made a note. This aligned with the evidence but contradicted Lily's account of a helpful stray. We'll need photos of the bite for comparison, and I'd like to ask about who might want you dead. The conversation that followed revealed little that Parker didn't already know. Blackwood had enemies any successful businessman did, but none that stood out as potential killers. His current project, a controversial waterfront development called Harborside, had faced opposition from environmental groups and local residents, but nothing that suggested violence. As Parker left the hospital, he couldn't shake the feeling that Blackwood was holding something back. The question was, what and why? Meanwhile, Lily had grown restless at the police station. When her father texted that he would be delayed, she convinced Mrs. Garcia to let her walk to the sandwich shop across the street for lunch. The summer air hit her like a wall of heat as she stepped outside, the sidewalk shimmering with mirages. That's when she saw it. The German shepherd from yesterday, watching her from the narrow alley beside the station. Without hesitation, Lily changed course, heart pounding as she approached the dog. It didn't run, but backed deeper into the alley, looking over its shoulder as if beckoning her to follow. "I know you were trying to help that man," Lily said softly. "My dad doesn't believe me, but I know." The dog paused, its amber eyes studying her with that same unnerving intelligence. Close up. Lily could see the extent of its injuries and neglect ribs protruding from matted fur, a network of scars across its flank, and a partially healed wound on its shoulder. Around its neck hung the tattered remains of what had once been a collar, so embedded in filth and fur that it was barely recognizable. Lily slowly reached into her bag and unwrapped the sandwich she'd bought. "Are you hungry?" The dog's nostrils flared at the scent of turkey and cheese, but it maintained its distance, wary, yet somehow dignified in its caution. "It's okay," Lily coaxed, setting half the sandwich on the ground between them. "I won't hurt you." For a long moment, neither moved. Then, with deliberate slowness, the dog approached the offering. It sniffed the sandwich thoroughly, before taking it with surprising gentleness, retreating a few steps to eat. "You're not wild, are you?" Lily murmured. "You were trained. I saw a poster inside was your name, Shadow." The dog's ears twitched at the word. "Shadow," Lily repeated, and this time the dog's attention focused wholly on her, its head tilting slightly. A rush of excitement filled her. "That is your name. You were a police dog, weren't you?" The connection established, Lily sat cross-legged on the dirty alley ground, talking to Shadow as he finished the sandwich. She told him about her father, about her mother's death, about how no one ever really listened to her. Shadow watched her with steady eyes that seemed to absorb every word. When Lily finally checked her phone, she gasped at the time. "I have to go back before they notice I'm gone too long." Shadow followed her to the edge of the alley, stopping where the shadows ended. "I'll come back," Lily promised. "And I'll bring more food. Just stay safe, okay?" That evening, Detective Parker was unusually quiet during dinner, his mind clearly elsewhere. Lily pushed her spaghetti around her plate, gathering courage to broach the subject that had been consuming her thoughts. "Dad, what happened to the canine officer named Shadow?" Her father's fork paused midway to his mouth. "Where did you hear that name?" "I saw a poster at the station," Lily admitted, "about a missing police dog." Parker set down his fork with a sigh. Shadow was a canine officer who disappeared during a drug raid 5 years ago. His handler, Officer Reeves, was killed. We assumed Shadow was killed too. "But what if he wasn't?" Lily pressed. "What if he survived somehow?" "Lily, that poster is ancient history. Even if Shadow somehow survived that night, he'd be at least 9 years old by now. And after 5 years on the streets—" He didn't finish the thought. "The dog I saw looked old," Lily said quietly, "and he had scars, lots of them." Her father's expression shifted from distraction to sharp focus. "Lily, are you saying you think the stray that led you to Blackwood is Shadow?" "I called him that name today, and he responded." Lily held her breath, waiting for the dismissal she'd come to expect. Instead, her father leaned forward, fully engaged for the first time in months. "You saw the dog again today in the alley by the station," she admitted. "I gave him some of my sandwich." Rather than anger, her confession sparked an odd intensity in her father's face. "Lily, this is important. Did the dog have a collar? A dark one?" "Kind of. It was really old and dirty, almost grown into his fur." She shuddered at the memory. "It looked painful." Parker stood abruptly, pulling out his phone. "I need to make some calls. If you're right about this dog being Shadow—" He left the sentence hanging as he stepped into the next room, but Lily could hear snippets of his conversation. 2 different dogs. Bite marks on Blackwood. Canine records from 5 years ago. For the first time since her mother died, Lily felt a flicker of connection with her father. He was listening to her, really listening. The next morning, Detective Parker made an unexpected announcement over breakfast. "I'm taking you to meet someone today." "Who?" Lily asked, surprised by the change in their routine. "Dr. Emma Sullivan. She's a veterinarian who used to work with the K9 unit. If anyone can help us identify whether this stray might be Shadow—" "It's her." Lily's heart leaped. "So you believe me?" "Let's say I'm investigating all possibilities," her father replied. But the small smile he offered held more warmth than Lily had seen in years. "Doctor." Sullivan's veterinary clinic was located on the outskirts of Oak Ridge, a modern facility with a separate entrance marked Police K9 Services. The veterinarian herself was a tall woman in her 40s with kind eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor. "James Parker," she said, greeting them in her office. "It's been a while. And this must be Lily. Your father says you've made friends with a very special dog. While Lily described her encounters with Shadow in detail, Dr. Sullivan listened intently, occasionally making notes. When Lily finished, the veterinarian pulled up a file on her computer. Shadow was one of our most exceptional canine officers, she explained, turning the screen so they could see a photo of the healthy, proud German Shepherd in his prime. His tracking abilities were almost supernatural. Officer Reeves used to joke that Shadow could find a single drop of blood in the ocean. "What happened to him?" Lily asked. "Doctor?" Sullivan's expression darkened. "The official report says Shadow was presumed killed during a raid on a drug operation. Officer Reeves was shot, and Shadow was last seen attacking one of the suspects. Neither the suspect nor Shadow was ever found. Until now. Perhaps," Detective Parker added. "If it is Shadow," Dr. Sullivan cautioned, "you need to understand he's been through severe trauma. The embedded collar you described suggests long-term neglect. The scars indicate abuse. He may never be the dog he once was. But we can help him. Right?" Lily looked from the veterinarian to her father. "If we can find him again." "That's why we're here," her father assured her. "Dr. Sullivan has agreed to examine him if we can bring him in. We'll need to be careful," the veterinarian warned. "Traumatized animals can be unpredictable, even ones with Shadow's training. If you see him again, don't try to catch him yourselves. Call me immediately." As they left the clinic, Lily felt a surge of hope. For the first time, adults were taking her seriously. They had a plan to help Shadow. Yet something in Dr. Sullivan's file had troubled her, the mention of Shadow attacking a suspect who was never found. "Dad," she asked as they drove home, "do you think Shadow might have been taken by bad people after the raid? People who trained him to hurt instead of help?" Her father's hands tightened on the steering wheel. "It's possible. There's a black market for trained police dogs. The wrong people could exploit their abilities, like making them attack people." "Yes. Then maybe Mr. Blackwood is right," Lily said slowly. "Maybe a German Shepherd did attack him, but it wasn't Shadow. It was another dog trained by the same bad people." Detective Parker glanced at his daughter with newfound respect. "That's exactly what the evidence is suggesting. 2 dogs at the scene, one brought by the shooter. One that came afterward. Shadow was trying to help," Lily insisted. "I know it. I hope you're right," her father replied, "for both your sake and his." What neither of them realized was that the shooter had already identified his loose end. From a parked car across the street from their house, a man watched through binoculars as the Parkers returned home. Beside him, in a specially modified kennel in the back seat, a German Shepherd with a dark collar waited silently, trained to kill on command. In his hospital room, Marcus Blackwood received a visitor, Victor Reynolds, carrying a tablet with security footage. "You need to see this. Marcus." The grainy video showed the warehouse from an exterior camera. A man and dog approached, then entered. Minutes later, the man exited alone, moving quickly to a waiting car. Shortly after, a different German Shepherd appeared, circling the building before finding an alternative entrance. "2 dogs," Blackwood murmured, eyes fixed on the screen. "The girl was right. "There's more," Reynolds said grimly. "I recognize the shooter. He works for Trenton." "Gregory Trenton?" Blackwood's face paled. "My competitor for the Harborside project?" "The same. And that's not all." Reynolds hesitated. "The second dog, the stray. I had our security team enhance the footage. It's wearing what's left of a police canine collar." The evening settled over Oak Ridge with the languid heaviness of midsummer, bringing little relief from the day's heat. Lily Parker sat on the back porch steps, a bowl of leftover chicken beside her, scanning the shadows at the edge of the yard. Her father had reluctantly agreed to her plan to lure Shadow back under strict conditions. Detective Parker watched from the kitchen window, phone in hand, ready to call Dr. Sullivan at the first sign of the German shepherd. "He'll come," Lily whispered to herself, though doubt had begun to creep in as the minutes stretched into an hour. Just as she was about to give up, a movement caught her eye. Shadow emerged from beneath the neighbor's hedge, his approach cautious but purposeful. He paused several yards away, nostrils flaring at the scent of food. "Hey, Shadow," Lily called softly, using the name that seemed to resonate with him. "I brought you dinner." "Inside." Detective Parker tensed, reaching for his phone while keeping his eyes fixed on his daughter and the large dog approaching her. What struck him most was the animal's demeanor, not the aggressive posture of an attack dog, but the alert, controlled bearing he recognized from his years working alongside K-9 officers. Shadow stopped a few feet from Lily, his amber eyes moving between her and the house, clearly aware of being watched. Years of survival on the streets had taught him caution, but hunger and something deeper, a pull toward human connection, long denied, drew him forward. "It's okay," Lily coaxed, sliding the bowl toward him. "My dad knows about you. We want to help," as if understanding her words. Shadow glanced toward the window where Detective Parker stood. Their eyes met through the glass, and a flicker of recognition passed between them. Parker felt a chill run down his spine. There was awareness in those eyes, memory. Shadow finally approached the bowl, eating with the same surprising gentleness Lily had noticed before. When he finished, he remained, allowing Lily to inch closer. "Dr. Sullivan is coming to check you," she explained, speaking to the dog as she would to any friend. "She used to take care of you when you were a police dog. She can help with your collar and those cuts." Shadow's ears twitched at the mention of Dr. Sullivan, another name from his past. As Lily carefully extended her hand, the dog permitted her touch for the first time a tentative contact with his matted fur. Detective Parker stepped onto the porch, moving slowly. "Stay calm, Lily. Don't make any sudden movements." "He won't hurt me, Dad," she replied with absolute conviction. "He saved that man. He's still a good dog." Parker approached gradually, crouching several feet away. "Shadow," he called softly, using the command tone he'd heard K-9 officers use. "Easy, boy." The German shepherd's attention shifted fully to Parker, his posture straightening almost imperceptibly, muscle memory responding to the authoritative voice. A faint whine escaped him, not of fear, but of something like recognition. "That's it," Parker encouraged. "You remember, don't you?" The moment of connection was interrupted by the sound of Dr. Sullivan's SUV pulling into the driveway, Shadow immediately tensed, backing away from Lily. "Wait," she called, but the dog had already retreated to the edge of the yard, poised to flee. Dr. Sullivan emerged from her vehicle carrying a medical bag and a specialized restraint pole. "Don't chase him," she advised, assessing the situation quickly. "Let him adjust to my presence." For several tense minutes, they waited as Shadow observed from a distance, his internal conflict visible in every line of his body. The urge to run battled with training so deeply ingrained it had survived years of abuse and neglect. "I have an idea," Lily said suddenly. She disappeared into the house, returning moments later with one of her father's old police jackets. "Will this smell like the ones from when he was a police dog?" Dr. Sullivan nodded, impressed. "That's brilliant. Lily, the uniform scent might trigger his training memory." Detective Parker took the jacket, holding it where Shadow could see and smell it. "Shadow, come," he commanded firmly. The German shepherd's ears perked forward, his internal struggle evident. Then, with deliberate dignity, he approached Parker, stopping just beyond arm's reach. "Good boy," Parker said softly, the praise causing the dog's tail to twitch not quite a wag. "But the ghost of one, Doctor." Sullivan moved with expert precision, slipping a gentle lead around Shadow's neck before he could retreat. "Got him. Now let's get him inside before he changes his mind." The examination that followed revealed the full extent of Shadow's ordeal. Beneath the matted fur, his body told a story of systematic abuse and survival against overwhelming odds. The embedded collar had to be carefully cut away, revealing raw skin beneath. Old fractures had healed improperly. Cigarette burns dotted his flanks. Most disturbing was a crude brand on his inner thigh, the mark of an underground dogfighting ring. "He was used as a bait dog initially," Dr. Sullivan explained as she cleaned the wounds, her professional composure slipping to reveal anger. "When they discovered his training, they likely tried to reprogram him as a fighter or attack dog." "But he escaped?" Parker asked, watching as the sedative they'd administered slowly took effect. Shadow's eyes growing heavy. "Multiple times. Judging by these injuries." The veterinarian gently turned Shadow's ear, revealing the faded but still visible tattoo. "This confirms its service number K97732. This is definitely Shadow." Lily, who had been quietly stroking the drowsy dog's head, looked up with tears in her eyes. Who would do this to him? Someone who knew exactly what they had. Dr. Sullivan replied grimly, "A police-trained German shepherd is worth a fortune in certain circles. The real question is how he ended up at that warehouse when Blackwood was shot." Detective Parker's phone rang, interrupting the conversation. He stepped into the next room to answer, his expression growing increasingly grave with each passing moment. When he returned, his posture had shifted to full alert. "That was the station. They've identified the bullet that hit Blackwood. It matches a weapon used in 3 other shootings, all linked to a professional hitman known as the Handler. He's known for using trained dogs in his hits." Dr. Sullivan looked up sharply. "The Handler, I've heard rumors about him in veterinary circles. He supposedly uses German shepherds to finish his victims or to retrieve evidence." "Dogs like Shadow," Parker said quietly. "Not just like Shadow," Dr. Sullivan corrected, turning the dog's shoulder to reveal a small scar. This is where his department microchip would have been. It's been crudely removed, but I'd bet anything the handler has his own tracking system implanted. You're saying Shadow belonged to this hitman? Lily asked, her hand protectively covering the sleeping dog's ear. More likely Shadow escaped from him. Her father answered, pieces falling into place. The raid where Officer Reeves was killed, what if it wasn't just a drug operation? What if the handler was there? Dr. Sullivan nodded slowly. That would explain why Shadow was never found. The handler took him, tried to retrain him, but Shadow's core training was too strong to completely override. So, when Shadow saw Blackwood being shot, Lily began, his police training resurfaced. Parker finished. He tried to help, not harm, and he's been trying to find his way back ever since. As the implications sank in, the veterinarian began preparing medications. I need to remove any tracking devices immediately. If the handler knows Shadow witnessed the shooting and led someone to Blackwood, he'll want to eliminate both the dog and anyone Shadow has contacted. Parker's protective instincts flared. Lily, pack a bag. We're not staying here tonight. But Shadow... He's coming with us, her father assured her. Dr. Sullivan, how soon can he be moved? I've given him antibiotics and pain medication. The sedative will wear off in about an hour. He's malnourished and injured, but moving him is less dangerous than leaving him where the handler might find him. While Dr. Sullivan continued treating Shadow, Detective Parker made arrangements by phone, his voice low and urgent. Lily packed essentials into her school backpack, mind racing with questions she was afraid to ask. When Shadow began to stir, Parker helped Dr. Sullivan load him into her SUV. We'll follow you to the clinic's back entrance, he instructed. I've arranged for an officer to meet us there. The small convoy had just pulled away from the house when Parker noticed a sedan turning onto their street. Get down, Lily, he ordered, watching through the rear-view mirror as the vehicle slowed near their driveway. Dad, what's happening? Lily's voice wavered. Probably nothing, he replied, though his hand moved to the gun holstered at his side. Just a precaution. At the veterinary clinic, they transferred Shadow through a service entrance to a secure kennel area in the back. The German Shepherd was now fully awake, alert, but cooperative. Seeming to understand the urgency of their movements, Dr. Sullivan worked quickly, using a scanning device to locate a small transmitter embedded beneath Shadow's shoulder blade. Exactly as I suspected, she muttered, preparing to remove it. Military-grade tracking implant. Your hitman has serious connections. Detective Parker paced the room, phone pressed to his ear. I need additional officers at Oak Ridge Veterinary Clinic immediately, he was saying. Possible connection to the Blackwood shooting. Suspect may be en route. Lily sat beside Shadow's kennel, fingers threaded through the bars to maintain contact with the dog. You're safe now, she whispered. We won't let anyone hurt you again. Shadow's amber eyes remained fixed on her, his expression almost sorrowful, as if he understood more than any dog should. When Dr. Sullivan approached with a syringe of local anesthetic to remove the tracker, he didn't resist, only watching the humans around him with wary resignation. The good news, Dr. Sullivan announced after successfully extracting a tiny metallic object from Shadow's shoulder, is that he's remarkably healthy considering what he's been through. German Shepherds are incredibly resilient, and Shadow was in peak condition before his ordeal. Will he recover? Lily asked, her voice small. Physically, yes. Mentally. The veterinarian hesitated. That depends on him, and on having people who understand what he's been through. A commotion from the front of the clinic interrupted them, raised voices, then the unmistakable sound of breaking glass. Detective Parker drew his weapon. "Sullivan, lock this door. Lily, stay with Shadow. James, wait." "Doctor," Sullivan began. But Parker was already moving toward the threat, closing the examination room door behind him. In the sudden silence, Lily could hear her own heartbeat. Shadow stood in his kennel, fully alert, a low growl emanating from deep in his chest. He wasn't looking at the door Parker had exited through, but at the small window high on the opposite wall. "Dad!" Lily called out, but her warning came too late. The window shattered inward as a dark figure crashed through, landing with practiced grace. The man straightened, weapon already drawn, face obscured by a tactical mask. Behind him, leaping through the broken window with deadly precision, came a second German shepherd larger than Shadow, wearing a dark tactical collar, its eyes cold and focused. "Doctor," Sullivan pushed Lily behind her. "Run through the back." The intruder fired, the bullet striking the veterinarian in the shoulder. She collapsed with a cry of pain as Lily screamed. Shadow's reaction was instantaneous. With strength born of desperation, he slammed against his kennel door repeatedly until the latch gave way. As the attacker turned toward Lily, Shadow launched himself across the room, colliding with the man's arm as he fired a second shot that went wild. The two German shepherds met in a fury of snarls and snapping teeth, circling each other in the confined space. Despite his injuries and weakened condition, Shadow fought with the precision of his police training, keeping himself between Lily and the threat. The door burst open as Detective Parker returned, weapon raised. "Police, drop your weapon." The masked intruder hesitated only a fraction of a second before diving back toward the window. Parker fired, hitting the man in the leg. With a grunt of pain, the attacker whistled sharply. His German shepherd immediately disengaged from the fight with Shadow and followed its master through the window, both disappearing into the night. "Sullivan," Parker rushed to the fallen veterinarian, while Lily clung to Shadow, whose muzzle was now streaked with blood. "I'm okay." "Doctor," Sullivan gasped, clutching her wounded shoulder. "Flesh wound. The girl." "I'm all right," Lily managed, her arms wrapped around Shadow's neck. "He saved me. Dad. Shadow saved me." As sirens wailed in the distance, Detective Parker looked at the German shepherd, standing protectively beside his daughter, blood dripping from fresh wounds gained in her defense. In that moment, any lingering doubt about the dog's nature vanished. "Good boy, Shadow," he said softly. "Good boy." The emergency room at Oak Ridge Memorial buzzed with controlled chaos as Dr. Sullivan was rushed through triage. Detective Parker, following closely with Lily and Shadow, the German shepherd, still bleeding from his confrontation with the attack dog, limped determinedly beside them, refusing to leave Lily's side despite his injuries. "Sir, animals aren't allowed," a nurse began, approaching with a clipboard. "Police K9, Parker interrupted, flashing his badge. "He's injured in the line of duty and needs immediate veterinary attention. Can you contact the on-call vet?" The authority in his voice brooked no argument. Within minutes, Dr. Sullivan had been taken to surgery, and a young veterinarian from the hospital's partnership program arrived to examine Shadow. "He needs stitches," the vet concluded after a careful assessment. Several deep lacerations, possible torn muscle in the left shoulder. I'm also concerned about internal bleeding. Lily's fingers tightened in Shadow's fur. You can help him, right? We'll do everything we can, the vet assured her. But he should really be at a full veterinary facility. He doesn't leave our site, Detective Parker stated firmly. The dog that did this will be back to finish the job. So will its owner. Understanding dawned in the young veterinarian's eyes. I'll set up in the small treatment room. We can manage with what we have here. As Shadow was led away for treatment, Parker guided Lily to a quiet corner of the waiting room. Her clothes were spattered with blood, Shadow's, Dr. Sullivan's, perhaps even the attacker's, and her face was pale with shock. Lily, he said gently, crouching to meet her eyes. I need to make some calls. Officers are securing the clinic and searching for the shooter, but I need to brief them. Will you be okay for a few minutes? She nodded numbly. Is Dr. Sullivan going to die? No. Honey, the doctor said it was a clean through and through. She'll need surgery and recovery time, but she'll be fine. He squeezed her shoulder. You were very brave tonight. Shadow was the brave one, Lily whispered. He knew that man was coming. He tried to warn us. Parker nodded, a new respect in his eyes. I believe you. As her father stepped away to make his calls, Lily hugged her knees to her chest, replaying the terrifying moments in the clinic. The masked man crashing through the window, the cold precision of his movements. The second German Shepherd. So similar to Shadow, yet utterly different, its eyes vacant of the intelligence and compassion that marked Shadow's gaze. A nurse approached with a blanket and a cup of hot chocolate. Your dad asked me to check on you, she explained, wrapping the blanket around Lily's shoulders. The doctor said your dog is doing well. He's getting stitches now. He's not really our dog, Lily said automatically, then paused. At least, not yet. The nurse smiled sympathetically. Well, he certainly acts like he's yours. The vet said he's been asking for you, whining and looking at the door. Warmth spread through Lily's chest at these words. Despite everything, Shadow was thinking of her. Across town, Marcus Blackwood was being discharged against medical advice, his private security team forming a protective barrier around him as he was wheeled to a waiting SUV. This is unwise, Mr. Blackwood, his doctor protested. Your condition is stable enough, Blackwood interrupted. And I'm clearly not safe here. The same people who shot me just attacked a veterinary clinic looking for a witness. A witness? The doctor looked confused. A dog, Blackwood replied grimly. The same one that saved my life. In the SUV, Victor Reynolds waited with a laptop and a grim expression. The handler's associate was wounded but escaped the clinic. Police have established a perimeter, but I doubt they'll find him. And Detective Parker, his daughter, at the hospital with the wounded veterinarian. The dog was injured, protecting them. Blackwood's face tightened. I was wrong about the animal. The surveillance footage showed everything. It wasn't the dog with my attacker. It was another German Shepherd entirely. He shifted uncomfortably, wincing at the pain in his chest. We need to reach Parker before the handler does. Back at the hospital, Shadow emerged from treatment groggy but alert, his body now sporting neat rows of stitches and a bandage around his shoulder. When he saw Lily, his tail gave a weak thump against the examination table. "He's a fighter," the veterinarian told them, stripping off her gloves. "Multiple lacerations, torn muscle in the shoulder, and 3 broken ribs, but no signs of internal bleeding. I'm prescribing antibiotics, pain management, and strict rest." "Can I pet him?" Lily asked tentatively. "Gently." The vet nodded. "He needs to know you're okay, too." Lily approached slowly, placing her hand where Shadow could see it before carefully stroking his head. The German shepherd leaned into her touch, a soft whine escaping him. "I know," she whispered. "You were so brave. You saved us." Detective Parker watched the interaction, emotion tightening his throat. For years after his wife's death, he'd buried himself in work, telling himself it was to provide for Lily, when in truth, it had been to escape his own grief. He'd failed to see how much his daughter needed him, how lonely she'd been. Now, watching her with Shadow, he recognized what the dog had given her that he couldn't: unconditional presence. His phone vibrated with a message: "Blackwood left hospital, en route to your location. Says urgent." Parker frowned. "Lily, we need to move to a more secure location. My captain is arranging a safe house." "What about Shadow?" Worry creased her forehead. "He can barely walk." "He's coming with us," Parker assured her, surprising himself with how natural the statement felt. "Can you help me find a blanket to carry him?" As they prepared to transport Shadow, a commotion erupted in the hospital corridor. Parker instinctively positioned himself between the door and Lily, hand moving to his weapon. The door burst open to reveal Marcus Blackwood in a wheelchair, flanked by security personnel. Despite his pallor and obvious pain, the businessman radiated authority. "Detective Parker," he said without preamble, "you need to come with me immediately, all of you, including the dog." Parker's posture remained defensive. "Mr. Blackwood, you should be in bed. And we're already arranging secure transport." "To where a police safe house," Blackwood scoffed. "The handler has informants everywhere, including your department. My estate has private security, a medical suite, and is equipped for both human and canine protection." "Why would you help us?" Parker demanded, suspicious. "You wanted to euthanize this dog yesterday." Shame flickered across Blackwood's face. "I was wrong. I've seen the surveillance footage from the warehouse. This dog," he gestured to Shadow, "tried to protect me after I was shot. The dog that attacked me belonged to my would-be killer." "The handler," Lily said softly. Blackwood's gaze shifted to her, surprise evident. "Yes. How did you—" "Dr. Sullivan figured it out," Parker explained. "Shadow used to be a police canine. We believe the handler took him after killing his handler 5 years ago. And now he wants to eliminate all witnesses, including an animal smart enough to lead someone to his victim." Blackwood winced as he shifted in his wheelchair. "Detective, I understand your hesitation, but time is critical. The handler never leaves loose ends." Parker studied the businessman, weighing options. "Who shot you?" "Blackwood. What's this really about?" "The Harborside Project," Blackwood admitted after a moment's hesitation. "It's more than just luxury condos and a marina. The development includes a state-of-the-art canine training facility and rehabilitation center for retired police dogs." His eyes moved to Shadow. "I've been funding rescue operations for former service animals for years. Someone wants to stop this particular project badly enough to kill for it." "Who?" Parker pressed. "My business partner believes it's Gregory Trenton, my chief competitor. But I'm beginning to suspect it goes deeper than business rivalry." Blackwood's expression hardened. "The handler is expensive. This is personal for someone." A hospital security guard appeared at the door, face tense. "Detective Parker, Hospital Security has identified an unauthorized individual in the east stairwell. Male, approximately 6 feet, moving with a limp." Parker made his decision. "We'll go with you, Blackwood, but I call the shots regarding my daughter's safety." "Agreed." Blackwood nodded. "My car is at the service entrance." "We need to move now." Shadow growled softly as they lifted him onto the makeshift stretcher. Not from pain, but warning. His ears were pricked forward, senses alert to danger they couldn't yet perceive. "He knows something's wrong," Lily whispered, stroking his head. "Dad, he can sense danger." Parker nodded grimly. "Let's not ignore his instincts this time." The small group moved swiftly through the hospital corridors, Blackwood's security team forming a protective formation around them. As they approached the service entrance, Shadow's growl deepened. "Wait," Parker commanded, drawing his weapon. "Something's not right." The service door swung open before them, revealing the parking area beyond and a dark sedan with tinted windows idling nearby, its engine a low purr in the night. "Back," Parker ordered. "That's not Blackwood's car." They retreated just as the sedan's window lowered and the barrel of a rifle emerged, aimed directly at their position. "Down!" Parker shouted, pulling Lily to the floor as gunfire erupted, shattering the glass doors behind them. Despite his injuries, Shadow struggled to rise, positioning his body over Lily's as fragments of glass rained down around them. His loyalty, even in his wounded state, was absolute. Blackwood's security returned fire, forcing the sedan to speed away, tires squealing on asphalt. In the momentary quiet that followed, Lily clung to Shadow, face buried in his fur. "We can't stay here," Blackwood stated, blood seeping through his hospital gown where his wound had reopened. "They'll be back with reinforcements." Parker nodded grimly, helping Lily to her feet while supporting Shadow. "Your car. Secondary entrance, underground parking." And as they regrouped, preparing for another attempt at escape, Parker caught Shadow watching him with those intelligent amber eyes. In them, he saw not just animal instinct, but a clear purpose, a determination to protect Lily at any cost. "We'll get through this," Parker promised, speaking to both his daughter and the wounded dog beside her. "All of us." What he didn't say, couldn't bring himself to voice, was the growing fear that the handler wouldn't stop until Shadow was eliminated, along with anyone who had seen too much, including his daughter. The convoy of 3 armored SUVs wound through the back streets of Oak Ridge, taking an indirect route to Marcus Blackwood's estate in the hills overlooking the city. In the middle vehicle, Detective Parker sat tensely beside his daughter, one hand on his weapon, the other gently steadying Shadow's makeshift stretcher across their laps. The German Shepherd drifted in and out of consciousness, the pain medication making his normally alert eyes heavy-lidded, though they still occasionally flickered open to check on Lily. "How much further?" Parker asked the driver. One of Blackwood's security team, a former Marine named Collins, who handled the vehicle with practiced precision. 10 minutes, Collins replied, eyes constantly scanning the road ahead. We're taking the service entrance through the woods, less exposed. Blackwood sat in the front passenger seat, his face gray with pain but his mind clearly sharp as he coordinated with his team through a secure radio. Security Station 3, we're approaching your position. Status report. All clear, sir, came the crackling response. Perimeter sensors show no unauthorized movement. Medical team standing by in the East Wing. Parker studied the businessman with newfound curiosity. The Marcus Blackwood he'd been investigating cold. Ruthless real estate developer with questionable ethics seemed at odds with this man who commanded a private security force with military efficiency and apparently maintained a medical facility capable of treating both humans and animals. "You don't trust hospitals?" Parker asked. Blackwood's lips twitched in what might have been a smile. "I don't trust institutions I don't control. Detective. Especially when someone's trying to kill me." He paused, then added more softly, "My wife died in a hospital. Doctors made promises they couldn't keep." The simple admission changed something in Parker's perception. Grief was a language he understood all too well. "Your canine facility?" Parker said after a moment. "Is that why someone wants you dead? Seems extreme for a charity project." "It's more than charity," Blackwood replied. "The facility will include a training program to identify and rehabilitate service dogs that have been stolen or abused, particularly those that end up in fighting rings or with criminal organizations. We're partnering with law enforcement across the state." Understanding dawned. "You're threatening someone's supply chain, someone who traffics in trained dogs." "Precisely." Blackwood winced as the SUV navigated a particularly rough stretch of road. What better cover than a legitimate real estate development? No one looks twice at another luxury marina. Lily, who had been quietly listening while stroking Shadow's head, spoke up. "Is that why the bad man has a German shepherd too? He steals police dogs." Blackwood turned in his seat to look at her, his expression softening. "You're very perceptive, young lady. Yes, we believe the handler specifically targets and repurposes former service dogs. Their training makes them valuable. And with the right, or rather, wrong techniques, their abilities can be corrupted." "But not Shadow," Lily said with absolute conviction. "They couldn't make him bad." "No," Blackwood agreed, studying the wounded dog with newfound respect. "They couldn't break his core training, his loyalty." The convoy turned onto a private road, climbing into the hills where mansions perched like crowns among the trees. After passing through 2 secure gates, they finally approached Blackwood's estate, a sprawling modern structure of glass and stone that seemed to emerge organically from the hillside. Inside, they were met by an efficient medical team who immediately took charge of both Blackwood and Shadow. Lily refused to leave the German shepherd's side as he was transferred to an examination table in what appeared to be a fully equipped veterinary suite. "You have your own vet clinic?" Parker asked, bewildered by the facility. "My late wife's legacy," Blackwood explained as a nurse checked his vitals. "She was a veterinary surgeon. After she passed, I maintained her rehabilitation center for injured wildlife and expanded it to include domestic animals." The private veterinarian, Dr. Winters, a gentle-mannered man in his 50s, examined Shadow carefully, reviewing the hospital vet's work. "Excellent suturing," he commented. "But I'm concerned about these old injuries. X-rays will tell us more about historical trauma. With your permission, Detective." Parker nodded, watching as Shadow was sedated and prepared for imaging. The dog's trust was evident. Even in his drugged state, he made no attempt to resist, his eyes finding Lily's before closing. "He's going to be okay, right?" Lily asked, the events of the night finally catching up to her as her voice broke. "Doctor," Winters smiled reassuringly, "he's remarkably resilient. German Shepherds bred for service work have extraordinary constitutions. Let's get these images, and then we'll know exactly what we're dealing with." While Shadow underwent examination, Parker was shown to Blackwood's Security Center, a state-of-the-art command post with multiple screens monitoring the estate perimeter. Victor Reynolds was waiting, tablet in hand. "We've compiled everything we know about the handler." Reynolds began without preamble. "He's been operating for at least 6 years, possibly connected to 13 confirmed hits, though his involvement is always difficult to prove. His signature is precision and leaving no witnesses." "And the dogs?" Parker asked. Reynolds tapped his tablet, bringing up images on the main screen. "Always German Shepherds, always with military or police training backgrounds. We've identified 5 different animals used in his operations. 4 are confirmed dead, eliminated after serving their purpose." Parker felt a cold anger building. "And the 5th, still active. The one you encountered tonight." Reynolds displayed an enhanced image from the clinic security footage, a powerfully built German Shepherd with a distinctive white blaze on its chest. "We believe this is Maverick, formerly a military working dog who disappeared in Afghanistan 3 years ago. His handler was killed in action." "Just like Shadow's handler," Parker murmured. "It's a pattern." "More than that," Reynolds agreed. "It's a business model. The handler acquires these highly trained animals, breaks them down through systematic abuse, then reprograms them as weapons. Most don't survive the process. Shadow is an anomaly." Parker studied the security footage, a question forming. If Shadow escaped from the handler, why didn't he try to find his way back to the police? Why stay on the streets for years? Reynolds hesitated. "There's something you should see." He brought up a file labeled Operation Nightfall, the raid where Officer Reeves, Shadow's handler, had been killed. Parker scanned the report, his law enforcement experience allowing him to read between the carefully sanitized lines. This wasn't just a drug bust, he realized. There was a leak, inside information. Someone in your department was working with the targets. Reynolds confirmed. The investigation was buried. Officer Reeves was posthumously investigated for corruption, though nothing was ever proven. The implications hit Parker like a physical blow. Shadow didn't return because he didn't trust the department. He knew someone there betrayed them. "Dogs remember who hurts them," Reynolds said simply. "And who protects them." A technician interrupted with an urgent message. "Sir, hospital security footage shows 2 unmarked vehicles leaving the premises immediately after the shooting. We've tracked them heading northwest." "Toward us," Parker concluded grimly. "They know where we are." "Impossible," Reynolds insisted. "This location is secure." "Unless you have another leak," Parker countered, already moving toward the door. "I need to get to my daughter." In the veterinary suite, Dr. Winters was reviewing Shadow's X-rays with Lily when Parker burst in. The images on the screen told a story of systematic abuse, healed fractures, evidence of old gunshot wounds, and signs of repeated blunt force trauma. "Dad," Lily looked up, alarmed by his expression. "We need to move to a more secure location," Parker said, trying to keep his voice calm. "Where's Blackwood?" "Resting in his quarters, Doctor," Winters replied. "Detective, Shadow can't be moved again so soon. The stress alone could—" "We don't have a choice," Parker interrupted. "The handler knows we're here." As if confirming his words, a distant alarm began to sound. Security lights flashed on throughout the building, and the estate's computerized system announced a perimeter breach in a calm, automated voice. Parker's training took over. "Lily, stay with Shadow. Doctor, is there a secure room in this facility? Something with reinforced doors." "The surgical suite. Doctor," Winters nodded. "Biohazard protocols require it to be sealable." "Get Shadow there now," Parker ordered, drawing his weapon. "Lily, do exactly as the doctor says. I'm going to find Blackwood." "Dad, don't leave," Lily cried, panic edging her voice. Parker crouched to meet his daughter's eyes. "I'll be right back. I promise." He glanced at Shadow, who was groggily trying to rise despite his injuries. "Take care of her," he told the dog, and was met with a steady gaze that needed no interpretation. The security center was in controlled chaos when Parker arrived. Guards deployed to defensive positions while Reynolds coordinated the response. On the monitors, dark figures moved through the wooded perimeter of the estate. "At least 6 hostiles," Reynolds reported. "Heavily armed. They've disabled 2 security stations already." "Where's Blackwood?" Parker demanded. "Secure room off the west wing. Already locked down." Parker's jaw tightened. "While my daughter is still in the medical suite." Reynolds had the grace to look uncomfortable. "Standard protocol. Principal safety is the priority." "Not for me," Parker growled, heading for the door. "I'm getting Lily to the secure room. Have your men cover me." "Parker," Reynolds called after him. "They're jamming communications, mobile signals, radio, everything. We're on our own." Moving through the darkened corridors of the massive house, Parker stayed low, listening to the sporadic gunfire outside as Blackwood's security team engaged the intruders. The medical suite was 2 wings away too far, too exposed. A figure stepped from a side room, nearly causing Parker to fire before he recognized Blackwood, armed with a shotgun despite his injuries. "What are you doing?" "You should be in the safe room," Parker hissed. "My house. My fight." Blackwood replied grimly. "Where's your daughter?" "Medical suite with Shadow. I'm going to get them." "I'm coming with you." When Parker began to object, Blackwood cut him off. "This isn't a debate, Detective. I have a better knowledge of the layout, including passages your daughter and the dog can navigate safely." Recognizing the logic, Parker nodded curtly. They moved together through the house, using service corridors and hidden passages that Blackwood accessed with biometric scans. The sounds of fighting grew more distant as they approached the medical wing. "The handler has never been this bold," Blackwood observed quietly. "A frontal assault isn't his style." "He's desperate," Parker replied. "Shadow is a direct link to him, proof of his methods, possibly even his identity." They reached the medical suite to find Dr. Winters barricading the door with equipment. Inside, Lily sat beside Shadow's examination table, the German shepherd now fully alert despite his injuries, ears forward and focused on the door. "We need to move to the secure room," Parker instructed, quickly helping dismantle the makeshift barricade. "Shadow can't walk. Can we carry him? I designed a transport system for injured large animals." Dr. Winters indicated a specialized stretcher mounted on a wheeled base. "But we need to sedate him for movement. The pain will be excruciating otherwise." "No time," Blackwood cut in. "The service elevator is 30 feet down that corridor. If we can get them there, it leads directly to the safe room level." A crash from somewhere nearby accelerated their decision. They quickly transferred Shadow to the transport stretcher, the dog stoically enduring the pain, his eyes never leaving Lily. Dr. Winters grabbed essential medical supplies while Parker checked the corridor. "Clear for now," he reported. "Lily, stay close to me. Blackwood, you take rear guard." They moved as a unit, Parker leading with his weapon drawn, Lily beside him, Dr. Winters pushing Shadow's stretcher, and Blackwood covering their backs. The elevator seemed impossibly distant as they navigated the darkened hallway, every sound magnified by tension. Just as they reached the elevator doors, Shadow gave a low, warning growl. Parker reacted instantly, pushing Lily behind him as a figure appeared at the far end of the corridor, a man in tactical gear, his face concealed by a mask, a German shepherd at his heel. The same dog from the clinic, its dark coat making it nearly invisible in the shadows, except for the white blaze on its chest. "Inside. Now," Parker commanded, raising his weapon as Blackwood did the same. "Dr." Winters frantically pressed the elevator call button while trying to maneuver Shadow's stretcher. The German shepherd struggled to rise despite his injuries, a protective growl rumbling from deep in his chest. "Detective James Parker," called the masked figure, his voice distorted but unmistakably confident. "And Marcus Blackwood, 2 problems solved at once." "Police officer, drop your weapon," Parker shouted the standard command, knowing it was futile. The handler laughed, the sound chilling in its casualness. "You're outnumbered and surrounded, detective, but I'm only interested in the dog. Give me what's mine, and perhaps your daughter walks away." Shadow's growl intensified at the sound of the man's voice, a visceral reaction that spoke of deep-seated fear and rage, even injured. The German shepherd positioned himself between Lily and the threat, his loyalty transcending pain. "He was never yours," Lily called out suddenly, her young voice clear and defiant in the tense corridor. "You stole him. You hurt him. But he never forgot who he really was." The elevator doors finally opened behind them as Dr. Winters hurriedly backed Shadow's stretcher inside. The handler raised his hand in a subtle gesture. His German shepherd tensed, ready to attack. "Maverick, fetch!" The handler commanded, and the attack dog launched forward with terrifying speed. What happened next seemed to unfold in slow motion. Despite his injuries, Shadow somehow found the strength to lunge from his stretcher, meeting Maverick midway down the corridor in a clash of snarls and teeth. Blackwood and Parker fired simultaneously, forcing the handler to take cover. "Lily, go!" Parker shouted, pushing his daughter into the elevator with Dr. Winters while Blackwood laid down covering fire. "Shadow!" Lily screamed, watching in horror as the two German shepherds fought savagely, Shadow impossibly holding his own despite his wounds and weakness. The elevator doors began to close just as the handler emerged from cover, weapon raised. In the narrowing gap, Parker saw Shadow pin Maverick momentarily, then turn and race toward the elevator with the last of his strength. The doors closed, the elevator descended, and above them, gunfire erupted in a deafening crescendo. The secure room beneath Blackwood's estate resembled a luxurious panic room crossed with a military command center. Reinforced walls, multiple screens displaying security feeds, and enough supplies to last weeks, all designed with one purpose: survival. Yet none of this registered with Lily as she paced frantically near the elevator doors, tears streaming down her face. "We have to go back for them," she pleaded with Dr. Winters, who was preparing emergency medical supplies with shaking hands. "Shadow's hurt Dad and Mr. Blackwood are still up there. Your father wanted you safe." Dr. Winters replied gently, "The best thing we can do is stay here and be ready when they come down." "If they come down," Lily whispered, the words catching in her throat. The security feed showed glimpses of the chaos above Blackwood's guards exchanging fire with the intruders. Sections of the estate now damaged or burning, but the medical wing cameras had gone dark, leaving them blind to the fate of Parker, Blackwood, and Shadow. "Your father is a trained police officer," Dr. Winters assured her, though his own voice wavered with uncertainty. "And Mr. Blackwood knows this house better than anyone. They'll find a way." Lily wiped her tears with the back of her hand, trying to be brave like her father always expected. But the image of Shadow, already wounded, facing that other German shepherd, haunted her. He had sacrificed himself to give them time to escape. After everything he'd already endured, it seemed cruelly unfair. Shadow knew what he was doing, Dr. Winters said, as if reading her thoughts. "Service dogs are trained to protect, but what I saw up there was more than training. That dog chose to protect you, Lily. Some bonds transcend explanation." The elevator indicator suddenly illuminated, showing movement from above. Lily's heart leaped into her throat as Dr. Winters pulled her behind him, reaching for a weapon Blackwood had stashed in the medical cabinet. "Stay back," he warned, as the elevator hummed to life. When the doors slid open, Lily's cry of relief filled the room. Detective Parker stood there, bloodied but alive, supporting a badly wounded Blackwood with one arm, and between them, barely standing but unmistakably present, was Shadow. Shadow! Lily rushed forward as the German shepherd limped painfully toward her, fresh blood matting his fur. She dropped to her knees, arms encircling his neck as gentle sobs escaped her. "You came back. You came back." "He wouldn't leave without you," Parker said, his voice rough with emotion as Dr. Winters helped ease Blackwood onto a medical cot. "Fought like hell up there, then led us to a service shaft when the main corridors were blocked." "The handler?" Dr. Winters asked, already cutting away Blackwood's blood-soaked shirt to reveal a reopened wound. "Got away," Blackwood grimaced. "But not before your dog did some damage. Parker took down his attack dog and bit the handler himself, tore right through his mask." Shadow had collapsed at Lily's side, his breathing labored but steady. Fresh wounds marked his already battered body, new cuts along his muzzle, and a deep slash across his flank where Maverick had caught him. Yet Despite the pain evident in his eyes, there was something else there too, a quiet dignity, a sense of purpose fulfilled. "We need to get Shadow to emergency surgery," Dr. Winters said, quickly assessing the dog's condition. "These new wounds, combined with his existing injuries, it's a miracle he's still conscious." "Do whatever it takes," Parker said, his voice leaving no room for doubt. "Whatever it costs." "Dad?" Lily looked up, surprised by the intensity in her father's tone. Parker knelt beside her, placing one hand on Shadow's head. "He saved our lives up there, Lily, mine and Blackwood's, mine, and when the handler had us cornered, Shadow created a diversion that let us reach the service shaft." His voice broke slightly. "I've never seen such courage." From his medical cot, Blackwood watched the scene with an expression of dawning comprehension. "The surgical suite down here is fully equipped," he told Dr. Winters. "Anything you need, any specialists we should call in price is no object." As Shadow was carefully transferred to the veterinary area, Lily refused to leave his side. The dog's eyes remained fixed on her even as Dr. Winters administered sedatives, his tail offering the faintest of thumps when she whispered reassurances. "You'll be okay," she promised, stroking his head as the drugs began to take effect. "We're going to take care of you now. You're home, Shadow. You're finally home." In the adjacent area, Parker helped Dr. Winters clean and redress Blackwood's wound while monitoring the security feeds. The estate security team had pushed back the attackers, and local police were finally arriving, alerted by neighbors who had heard the gunfire. "Your man Reynolds is coordinating with the officers," Parker informed Blackwood. "But the handler and what's left of his team are long gone." Blackwood nodded grimly. "He won't stop. Not now that we've seen his face." "You saw him?" Parker asked sharply. "When Shadow tore off his mask. Just a glimpse, but enough." Blackwood's expression darkened. "I recognized him. Parker, Gregory Trenton's head of security, a man named Reeves." Parker froze. "Reeves, as in Officer Michael Reeves' brother," Blackwood confirmed. "Andrew Reeves, former military, dishonorable discharge. He was at the memorial service 5 years ago when his brother was killed. That's where I saw him before." The pieces fell into place with sickening clarity. "Shadow's handler was killed, but Shadow survived," Parker said slowly. "Andrew Reeves blamed the department for his brother's death, took Shadow, and began training him for revenge. But Shadow wouldn't break," Blackwood continued. "Wouldn't become what Reeves wanted. So he escaped and ended up on the streets. Until he saw you being shot," Parker finished. "And his training kicked in, not the twisted conditioning Reeves tried to force on him, but his real training to protect and serve." Their conversation was interrupted by Dr. Winters emerging from the surgical area, his expression grave. "I've stabilized Shadow and treated his new wounds, but the combined trauma is severe. His body is shutting down from blood loss and shock." "What are you saying?" Lily asked, her voice small and frightened. Dr. Winters knelt to her level. "Shadow is very weak. Lily, his heart has been through too much stress. The humane thing might be to let him go peacefully." "No." Lily's cry was raw with anguish. "You can't give up on him. He never gave up on us." "The girl is right," Blackwood said unexpectedly. That dog has fought too hard to surrender now. He turned to Dr. Winters. What would you need to save him? Whatever specialized equipment, whatever personnel, name it. A blood transfusion, for starters, the veterinarian replied. His blood type is rare for German shepherds. Without it, his organs will fail within hours. Maverick, Parker said suddenly. The handler's dog, it would be the same breed, possibly the same bloodline if they came from the same training program. You want to use the attack dog to save Shadow? Dr. Winters asked incredulously. Maverick was injured in the fight upstairs. Parker explained. The handler left him behind when Shadow damaged his mask. If he's still alive. Blackwood was already reaching for the security console. Reynolds, do we have visual on a wounded German shepherd anywhere in the estate? Black coat, white chest marking. The response came swiftly. Yes, sir. North wing, trapped under fallen debris. Still alive, but immobile. Hope flickered in Lily's eyes for the first time since the elevator doors had closed. We can save them both, she whispered. Shadow would want that. As plans were made to retrieve Maverick, Parker watched his daughter sitting vigilantly beside Shadow's unconscious form, her small hand resting protectively on his fur. In that moment, he saw not just a girl and her dog, but a reflection of all that mattered: courage, loyalty, and the unbreakable bonds formed in the crucible of shared adversity. Blackwood joined him, watching the same scene. You know, the businessman said quietly, there's a position opening at my canine rehabilitation center for a security consultant with law enforcement experience, someone who understands what these animals go through. Parker met his gaze, a silent understanding passing between them. Let's focus on making sure Shadow survives the night, he replied. Then we can talk about the future. In the veterinary suite, Shadow's heart monitor beeped steadily, weak but fighting, just like the extraordinary dog himself, in a world that often forgets loyalty and sacrifice. Shadow's story reminds us that the most profound connections transcend words. Like many of us who've weathered life's storms, this brave German shepherd carried invisible scars beneath his fur, abandoned, betrayed, yet never surrendering his true nature. How many of us understand that silent resilience, the determination to keep faith when the world turns its back as we age? We too know what it means to fall and rise again, to protect those we love despite our own pain. Shadow found his purpose in young Lily, just as many of us discover renewed meaning in our grandchildren's eyes. His unwavering dedication mirrors the steadfast love many of you have shown your families through decades of challenges. When Detective Parker finally recognized Shadow's worth, we're reminded it's never too late to open our hearts, to mend broken relationships, to believe in second chances. Shadow's fight to survive against impossible odds speaks to everyone who's faced health battles or felt discarded by a society obsessed with youth. Remember your wisdom.